Hey guys, this is Mitch Kendra. Welcome to another Racer X Roundtable. I'm joined once again by Cody Darr, our photographer here in PA, and Travis Delnicki, our retired pro rider, Loretta Lynn's vet rider, insider man. We're going to talk SMX Next Supercross. This is the final championship round here in Pittsburgh. I'm excited about it. Cody's excited about it. As everybody here in Southwestern PA, we're excited about it. We're going to dig into this championship a little bit here and preview some of the riders to watch and recap the Foxborough race a little bit. So let's just start with the Foxborough race. Travis, you and I were both there. That was a little bit of a muddy mess. Mother Nature did its thing. The track work, excuse me, the SMX track crew did the best they could work on the track. Unfortunately, they pulled the tarps. We saw some rain. And man, that was just a wild day of racing in general, especially for these amateurs. Take us through, Travis. What did you think of the SMX Next at Foxborough?
Yeah, that was one of the most chaotic races I've ever watched. It was tough to just keep track of what was going on, but by the end, I think there was more guys sitting on their bikes or next to their bikes that were blown up or not running, and than there were guys circulating. It was insane, but at the same time, there was actually a really good battle up front, with um Cade Kate Johnson ended up winning, but Landon Gordon come from way back to the lead to fall to almost back into the lead, and then there was Fowler was up in the mix. It was a good race actually for a mud race that bad. There was a good battle for the lead, but aside from that, it was absolute chaos for everybody else.
Yeah, I think had like three or four different leaders. I think Kate Johnson fell down and then got back to the lead as well. Yeah, you mentioned Luke Fowler. I think he kind of went off the track and got stuck under his bike for a little bit. There was just a lot going on. There was a lot to try and follow. Cody, speaking of following, what were you watching from TV? I'm sure that was interesting, not being able to maybe see a little bit of everything. But what did you see on TV for that race?
Yeah, it was pretty chaotic. They kind of showed mostly the leaders, if not some of the carnage going on. That was some of the bikes and riders laying on the ground. Kind of looked like a demolition derby out there with the guys just kind of scattered and bikes and steam rolling and it looked like a mess. And thankfully I wasn't there for it. But yeah, like Travis said, Cade had a great race, won the race. Landon had a great start, fell, got back going, fell again off the track, was back to 10th, went back up to the lead, took the white flag in the lead, and then for the second week in a row, we had the leader drop it on the last lap. And then Cade took back over the lead and took it to the checkers, which he was riding really solid. Cade's got long legs and he's a good mud rider. I know him. He's a great kid. And yeah, he's definitely deserving of that win. You put himself in a good position off the start and took it home.
Yeah, one note about Kate Johnson. I don't know if anybody else knew this, but he said in the post-race press conference, he only started riding Supercross with other people on the track with him in SMX Next this year. So all of his training was done by just himself on a track, which to me blows my mind. So that's another thing to note too. He broke his collarbone in the Glendale race, the first
Yep.
SMX Next race of the year. He comes back. I think he had seventh in Birmingham, which he was pumped about at the time. The top 10, that's awesome. He's had one heck of a season, up and down, gets this win. It was, yeah, you guys nailed it. It was chaotic. I know from the press box, it was one of those days. I'm glad to be up in the press box. Not that I'd be qualified to be on the track, but it was one of those days where as a media guy, I'm like, oh, it's nice to be in the press box. And yeah, just watching guys left and right. Unfortunately, I talked to Grayson Townsend. He's still one of those youngsters, kind of getting his way in here in this class in the beat and kind of as a B rider. And he's trying to learn and get as much experience as he can for next year and the year after that. And man, the poor dude, stick and bones, little skinny dude, was on the side there after the mechanics that saw so many people get stuck. Cheyenne Harmon got stuck for like almost the entire 450 LCQ, I think. Like people were just getting stuck there, and poor Grayson Townsend's there, teeter-tottering his bikes, trying to get it out of the mud. I wish we had a GoPro and a mic on that flagger in that turn because that dude, he probably saw the most action all along. Like he was probably on track more than some of the riders. He was pulling people out left and right. Like they got, they had the skid steer, they're pulling people out. Like, gosh, that was just crazy. Yeah, there was a lot going on there. Just looking at the quick results here, you guys mentioned Kay Johnson taking the win. Landon Gordon coming back, up and down race for him. He finishes second. Fowler, who had the lead at one point again, he came through third. Landon Gibson and Russell Bucheri round out the top five. And honestly, if you would have asked me right after the race had ended who got fourth and fifth, I would have been like, I can't really tell you. It was so crazy, like chaotic. Everybody's covered in mud. But then you realize, like, okay, that's where this guy was at the time. So those are pretty strong rides for those guys. I'm sure Travis Russ was pretty pumped with the fifth there in front of the home crowd. What do you think?
Yeah, I didn't talk to him, but I'm sure, yeah, he was pretty fired up. I honestly I never even noticed Landon Gibson out there one time. I had no idea he even got fourth. But yeah, Russ had a good charge through the pack. He started way back, like 16th or something like that, and yeah, got up to fifth. So yeah, it was a good ride for him.
Yeah, and then honestly, I didn't really get to see what happened with some of these guys, but Vincent Way came through officially 22nd, Ryder Malinowski 21st, Landon Hart's 20th, Alex Fedortsov 19th, Grayson Townsend, who I mentioned, got stuck in the mud 18th. Like, man, honestly, at some point in this race, I'm looking around and I'm like, and they have leader lights, thank God, because you can kind of see Landon Gordon and Kay Johnson going back and forth to the lead there. But otherwise, it was like, man, who's a lap down? Where is this guy? They're all covered in mud. It was really hard to follow along. Um, that's kind of our quick recap. You guys have anything else to add? Honestly, it was a mud race. Props to those guys for doing as well as they did. Bummer for the guys that didn't. But we're not going to dig too much into this because for SMX Next, this is SMX Next. This was just a qualifying race. There's no championship standings. As we're going to talk about here in a minute, whoever wins the championship final here in Pittsburgh is the champion. But any closing thoughts on here on Foxborough before we kind of shift focus to Pittsburgh?
I do want to give a shout out to Gavin Betts. It was his first SMX Next race, and he ran inside the top five, I think, even for a lap or two. Might have been just for a lap. But he was inside the top 10 the whole race, finished seventh. You know, might not have been the result he would have got on a dry track, but I mean, to bring home a 10th place in his first SMX Next race was pretty remarkable. I'm sure he was on cloud nine. Jordan Renfro in his first race just outside the top 10 with 11th. And yeah, Vincent Way, I don't know if you guys seen, but he on the first lap had a crash on the one double, went off the track into the wall, somehow got back up and got back going, and then went down again. And then I was seeing him, he was stuck in the modified whoop section, just bike was not going anywhere. So I think he had a bike malfunction. But yeah, it was pretty gnarly.
Yeah, real quick, I know
Yeah,
you
actually,
mentioned Betts. You mentioned Gavin Betts, Cody, sorry, and yeah, props to him for doing pretty good. Conditions probably weren't what he was expecting when he signed up, but yeah, he got it done there. What were you gonna say, Travis?
oh, just like yeah, actually I did see Vincent crash and yeah, go like basically into the side of the stadium for the second race in a row because he did the same sort of thing at same sort of thing at Birmingham. So yeah, it's been a rocky start for Vincent, but speed seems good.
Yeah, it just needs to keep going this way and not that way into the side of the track. Sorry for that pun there. But all right, so yeah, looking ahead to the championship finale here in Pittsburgh. Me personally, growing up a little bit outside of Pittsburgh, I cannot wait for this race in general and for it to be the SMX championship final. I think that's pretty neat. Like, I think the whole goal of this being here for Pittsburgh instead of the Salt Lake City championship final with, the pro guys is break it up a little bit, give these guys kind of their day to shine, and just take, I guess, so they don't get really buried in the spotlight of everything that comes with Salt Lake City. So as we talked about, I think in a couple of previous races, or excuse me, in a couple of the previous videos for the other races, basically the qualifying rounds that we've been talking about throughout the season, the top five finishers from those main events will qualify for this championship finale. And then basically it's a winner takes all. if you're dead last and somehow you pass everybody on the final lap and you take the checkered flag, no matter if you got dead last and, last weekend or whatever, if you qualified and you're in this main event and you take first, you're the champion. We kind of touched about that, and maybe we'd like to see a little bit of a championship or some kind of triple crown or maybe a second moto, but hey, that's the way this is for now. I guess it's really hard to say with this not having a, true championship feel and points, but we'll start with you, Cody. Who's, I guess, your favorite? Do you have a specific rider that you think you almost feel like the pressure's on them to kind of get the job done here?
Well, I definitely feel like the pressure's on Landon Hart's, or not Landon Hart. I apologize, Landon Gordon. Um, he's definitely going to have the most pressure coming in. He has what, two wins in the bag, almost a third. I'm sure he wants to close out this SMX Next program on a high note, take the win, go into the Moto Combines with some confidence, and then hopefully go into the pro ranks I'm assuming after Loretta's, he'll be jumping up into the pro ranks. So, I'm sure there's a lot of pressure on him. And then obviously there's a couple other guys like Clark Robbins. He has some pressure. You want to see some of these guys really finish out on a high note. I know he's got a few things up in the air for next year, so he wants to put on a solid ride. And then also like Landon Hart's, I said there in the beginning, he's probably got a little bit of pressure, coming off a few good finishes there in the beginning of the season, and then getting 20th there in Foxboro. You want to back it up with a little bit of a better finish to highlight your end of your year.
What about you, Travis? Who do you think, is there kind of pressure like you mentioned with Lane and Gordon? Who do you think the pressure's on?
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that Gordon doesn't have the most pressure. He's kind of been the favorite all year, but I mean, I think there's some pressure on Enzo Temmerman just because he's been solid and actually on I think it was on Pulp yesterday. I think Daniel Blair actually had like a stat that if they were keeping track of points, that Temmerman would be the points leader right now. So, I mean, I don't know if he would be aware of that or not, but I mean, it's definitely something where it's like, if you want to look at it like as a season as a whole and not just like a one-off thing, I think he could put, some pressure on himself to be like, okay, I want to just show that I can have a good series, instead of just a one-off win, as a team. The teams, might like that, that hey, this dude was consistent throughout the season and he's solid, Um, but as far as the complete opposite spectrum of that, I think Alex Fedorstov, he could have some I don't know if I would call it pressure, but it's definitely an opportunity to take all the bad luck that he's had throughout the season and opportunities that he's lost to get wins and podiums and you know get a win this weekend. So I don't know if I would say that it's pressure, but it's definitely a great opportunity to end the season strong and finally, get on the top step of the box because he's due a few.
Yeah, in Daytona, he was leading, runs into the flat tire issue. So we're like, all right, that's a bummer, but he had the speed. And then, the next race in Birmingham gets into the lead. We're like, all right, the moto gods are rewarding him, giving him just good luck and giving it back to him. And then he crashes and hands it over to his teammate. And it's like, oh my goodness. And yeah, and then I think he ran into some issues there in the mud. And like we said, not a great ride for him. But Travis is still riding the Alex train. He's still riding the Alex hype train. So good to see.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so one thing to note, looking at the last couple of champions in the Supercross Futures slash SMX Next program. So when the program returned in 2022, there was a focus on the A and B riders. There was no more of the Sunday format with a bunch of different age groups and skill levels. So in 2022, Chance Hymas took the win on a Honda. In 2023, Casey Cochran took the win on a Husqvarna. And then last year, Cole Davies took the win on a Gas. I don't want to say Hymas was the favorite because he was going back and forth with Ryder D a little bit that year, but those are both A-level guys that year. So to see him win, it wasn't really surprising, I would say. But I guess, Cole Davies was pretty good last year against Drew Adams. I think Drew Adams got sick at the championship final race last year, which kind of impacted him a little bit. I think he had a small crash, so he might have just been kind of, lingering a little bit there. But Casey Cochran taking the win as a beat rider, like before we started recording, we were talking that year was Daxton Bennick versus Julian Beaumer. They were taking all the wins, and then they both went down early in that race, and Casey Cochran as a B rider was able to take that title. So if you guys would kind of think about, maybe who's like that spoiler, like that B rider that could kind of sneak in there. You guys mentioned Gordon and Alex and a couple of these guys. Who do you think could be maybe that sleeper pick? We'll start with you, Cody. I know maybe is that going to be your Landon Hart's pick, or what do you think?
Well, I do think, Landon Hart definitely has a good shot. He came out of Minios. I think he went 5 out of 6 or six won titles, and he was really ripping. Um, and another one, Vincent Way. I mean, he has the speed to do it. In honestly, if he gets a start, he could possibly just take off and we can maybe never see him, And that's what like he's got that skill to do it. We just haven't really seen it. And then also another third one for me would be Tiger Wood, just if he somehow, slips in there, slips back in there. Um, I don't know how things are going with his visa issues or not, but it would be cool to see him back if he could get back in there. That'd be awesome to see him steal one from these factory guys.
Yeah, and he had a podium, which I think was his first race of the year, right? So that was pretty good finish for him. What about you, Travis? Who would you say is like almost a spoiler, or maybe a guy that could sneak in there and get the championship win here at the final race?
I'm gonna go Landon Gibson. He's been solid, he's shown speed, but also had some crashes. I mean, obviously Birmingham really sticks out. Like he was in position to win that and crashed it away in the whoops. But I mean, he even had some good rides last year, so he's got a little bit of experience. And I mean, obviously being on Rockstar Husqvarna, like he's got the team. Like he's expected to. I think he's expected to be battling for 4 wins. So I almost don't even think it would be shocking if he did win. I think, he's on that level. Um, as far as like more of an underdog, Luke Fowler, he's been consistently in the mix and um yeah, he might not be, I don't think he's like top level speed of this class, but he's solid. He's always puts himself in the mix. So I think if you can be in the mix, then you can, also take opportunities that may come.
Yeah, and you mentioned Landon Gibson. I don't know if we mentioned it before, but I actually talked to him and Justin Barsha because they've been training together down at Baker's factory. And I kind of just bounced some ideas like, hey man, what's it like, hey Landon, what's it like riding with Barsha? And because we know how Barsha is, he's going to rev the bike really hard. He's going to try and block pass. He's not going to do anything dirty at the test track, but he's going to ride you hard. And he's like, hey, it's pretty cool. Like he's got a lot of experience and everything. And I asked Justin the same question, like, hey, what's it like with Gibson? And he's only 16. And Justin said, yeah, he brings a lot of energy to the track. He has a lot of fun with him. And I think there was a Instagram video of them doing wheelies before motos and stuff, or between motos, whatever. Um, but I feel like he's got that. Yeah, he's definitely got the speed. I think we've kind of mentioned him before. If he could just nail the consistency down, like, man, he's been doing this for a couple races now. Again, last year he had speed but had a crash. He's like, man, if he gets a start and he has the speed, like he could easily take this win. So that's another a good name, yeah, to mention. Yeah, Luke Fowler, how cool would that be for him to win like in Pittsburgh? He's from right around here. I know it's a big deal for him to be racing this one. That'd be really cool to see him get that win. Another couple of guys here. Who else, is there anybody you could see maybe sneaking in a surprise podium that maybe hasn't gotten a podium so far this year? Travis, what do you think? Anybody that, we know, excuse me, saw Justin Turner get a podium. We mentioned Tiger Wood. Just a couple of these guys, maybe surprise podium here late in the season?
Uh, yeah, I was gonna say Tiger Wood, but actually, I think he did get a podium early in the year, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, Clark Robbins, maybe he also got a podium. I'm not sure, but I think he's
I think he's
definitely,
got fourth. He's been right on the cusp, I believe. Yeah.
yeah, I think he's been just short a couple times, but yeah, he's been solid. Um, he's definitely won, and obviously, uh, Cody mentioned him, but Vincent Way, he doesn't really have results on paper, but he's definitely got the speed to be on the podium.
So do you have maybe somebody you'd like to see get on the podium here that hasn't been on the podium yet?
Uh, Liam Olaf. I think he's definitely got the skills. We just really very just haven't really seen much of him, haven't heard much of from him. But like I said, if these kids can just get a start, um, clean track does so much for them. And I know in Birmingham it was kind of wreck fest, and then Foxborough it's a mud fest. But uh, when these kids get out front, like Cade got out front there at Foxborough, it's such a mental confidence boost for them to just know they can be out there and do it and lead and uh might not end up the way they want, but to get that experience is, well, really what this program's all about. And to be racing under those bright lights with, 60,000 Supercross fans in the building, it doesn't get no better than that. So, but yeah, Liam Olaf, and like, like Travis said, Clark Robbins, I think Clark really wants a podium. I think he can do it.
Yeah, excuse me, Liam Olaf. I feel like he's been, I don't know, we haven't really seen a ton from him. I feel like he was almost one of those guys that was expected to come in and, he did really well at Loretta's last year. He was showing speed at the combines last year as well. I think he was one of those guys people were expecting, oh man, like he's going to come in and do pretty well. And I don't know, maybe it's just learning Supercross and he was on a different team this year, some changes, some injuries in the offseason as well. But yeah, I feel like he's been a little bit more quiet, I guess, than we expected. But who knows, maybe at this championship finale, we'll see something. You also mentioned Clark Robbins, I think in a couple episodes ago, Cody. I think this is like a contract year almost for him. And I think, he's one of those guys, I think he could sneak a podium as well. I believe, like I said, I think his best was fourth so far this year, fourth or fifth. Um, I think he had a podium last year, maybe, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think he had at least one last year. So I feel like he could get a good start and be up there. Um, I'm going to say it. I think A. Landon is going to do well. I don't know what their last name is going to be, but there's going to be A. Landon that does well. One of the three is going to, one of them is going to have my back there, and I'm going to be right because A. Landon is going to do well.
Your odds are well.
Yeah. That's a pretty good take there, huh? Yeah. Yeah, but lots of exciting things going on here between the championship and the 450 championship. If you just said, hey, at this point, with 3 rounds to go, we're going to have a tight championship battle between Cooper Webb and Chase Sexton. Yeah, we're not going to have Tomac and Lawrence brothers, but this is still going to be like down to the wire, single digits. This East Championship with Seth Hamaker, RJ Hampshire, and Tom Vial has been awesome. Eighth Rasher's been in the mix a little bit too. Like throwing the SMX Next guys, this championship, like this season has not been there's been an exciting race every weekend. Like, and yeah, a couple days ago in East Rutherford, Chase pulled away for the win, but like, man, he was just ripping. Like these guys are just on such an awesome level to watch. And throwing these amateur kids in here, and there's just a lot of excitement going on. And we're getting to preview the next up and coming stars of the Supercross and Motocross and Super Motocross paddock. So that's a lot of excitement there. Any closing thoughts here as we head into Pittsburgh? Kind of went through the entry list a little bit. A couple of guys we think we're going to do well. Um, any closing thoughts from you guys? Cody, if you want to start it off.
Really, I'm just super excited to go to Pittsburgh for Supercross. I'm super excited. It's the SMX Next finale. I get to be there in person for it. So, I've been talking about these kids kind of all Supercross season, and now I get to watch them battle it out for, bragging rights at the end, and then see who, has the most confidence going into the moto combines. And, hopefully I really want to see a good battle and everyone get out here safe and healthy and with a good amount of experience, because that's what this program's about, just learning and figuring this Supercross stuff out for these kids.
Travis, any closing thoughts?
Uh, yeah, I mean, you sort of touched on it earlier, just how, they switched it up this year so that this finale of, SMX Next isn't the same as the actual season finale, which is great because last year I want to say they had the main event like after practice and qualifying was over. So yeah, at least, these kids will get the spotlight that to, show what they have in the finals. And hopefully, I haven't looked at the weather today, but I know it looks a little iffy at the moment, but I'm not sure if that changed. But yeah, hopefully we get a good racetrack for these kids to race on and not, another slop fest. But yeah,
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
two out of the three East Coast races here on this Northeast swing have been good. Hopefully Pittsburgh comes through as well. Real quick, something to mention because you mentioned the spotlight. These guys are going to be doing the PM press, I believe. Hopefully, there's going to be riding on Friday, but these guys are going to be in front of the media, local media, and everything. So that's going to be kind of cool. Maybe a little bit of a new opportunity for some of those guys. And then one really quick closing thought, as you guys were talking about the riders and stuff, I just got to thinking with the Moto Combines, we are actually not going to see either Caden Dudney or Hayden Manier, I believe, in this championship finale here in Pittsburgh. Dudney hasn't been, I guess, having the great results that he was hoping for. And I think in Daytona he got landed on by Liam Olaf. Had a little bit of a shoulder injury. Cade Manier had a collarbone injury. He came back from that, had surgery, and then had some visa issues. I don't believe we're going to see either of those guys, but hopefully we see them for the Moto Combine. I think maybe Motocross is where those guys will really shine. So yeah, just a couple months from now, we'll see those guys hopefully in the Moto Combines. But yeah,
I
Supercross. Go ahead, Cody.
I was gonna say I did see Dudney will is already riding. He's been back on the back or bike fully cleared. He's just gonna wait until outdoors, and then Manier's already trying to do area qualifiers, so he should be on the road to Loretta's, and then hopefully we'll see him at the Moto Combines too.
Yeah, I know those were two guys where everybody was kind of like, oh man, like, two young star prospects. Like, man, Dudney was killing it at Loretta's last year. His fastest lap time, like, won his, won his motos convincingly, like, really ripping. And then Manier was kind of hyped in Australia, a little bit under the radar here in the US. And he comes to the Moto Combine in August. And, you know, everybody, at first I turned around, I'm like, who's this kid? I honestly thought he was a lap down. He was that far ahead of everybody else. I was like, did something happen to his bike? Like, he's a lap down? No, he got the whole shot and he said, see, guys, I'm going to the podium. So I think that'll be cool to see those guys. Hopefully, once Pro Motocross rolls around, the SMX Motocross section comes up with the Scouting Moto Combines, Loretta Lynn's regionals and qualifiers and everything like that. So anyway, yeah, that's all for us. Tune in this weekend to Peacock for the Pittsburgh Supercross and the SMX Next Championship finale. Thanks for watching, guys.